Even though winter is almost back. I don't know why. We got 32 degrees today. It's freezing cold. But we're gonna warm ourselves with a little bit insights on success. Don't forget, if you want to help the Yeshiva, you can do so going to our PayPal account on our Yeshiva website, yeshiva.etzion.com. And if you have anything to say, to ask, you can do so by reaching out to us at rabbigaon@gmail.com. So today we're going to talk about life, or living life to succeed. Do we live life, or is our routine of life set for success, or are we living life that is enabling us to succeed? One should understand that your lifestyle and the way you live life on the day-to-day, that lifestyle has a critical effect on your ability and your chances to succeed. Few changes that you would implement can help you leap into success in measures that you can't even comprehend. And these are facts. It's not so facts. For example, change your time perspective. Well, the way your perception of time, change it. You need to make a decision. What is really important for you to do? Make a list of important things that you need to do. Make sure, though, that the rest of the things don't disappear. For example, I need to do, let's say I have to give I don't know, what do I have to give? I don't have to give a thing to anyone. But anyway, I have to give a paper to college. Okay? So I have a paper to college, and what do most people do? Procrastinate. Leave it. I'll do a little bit. They think I'll do a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, and at the end, and all of a sudden they find themselves a week before the due date, and they have to give a 20-page research paper, and all of a sudden they have to cram 3 days straight or something like this, ridiculous on that matter. And so you need to define and identify what is important to you to do. You need to make sure that the rest of the things of your life are done as well. You can't neglect other things in your life. In other words, when you set your priorities, do not allow a daily schedule that's going to be only one thing and where you neglect everything else. You need to make sure everything is getting done with prioritizing what needs to be done first, or what's the most important thing. Most people don't do that. Most people simply procrastinate, and they leave things until it's too late, and then all of a sudden it's a catastrophe. For example, you have a credit card to pay. Most people have credit cards. I think credit cards are good to a certain extent, but overall credit cards are very bad. Why? Not that there's anything wrong with credit cards. There's something wrong with the way we handle the credit card. A person has a credit card. Okay, I'll pay it at the end of the month. I'll pay it at the end of the month. I'll pay it at the end of the month. The end of the month comes, he spent all his money, now he doesn't have anything to pay. So what happens? Celebration of the credit card company, because now they're going to pay you more interest and so on and so forth, right? You need to pay all the time. Pay along as you go. Pay along as you go, and you don't feel it. The same thing when you do with your car insurance. Pay a little bit every month rather than to pay a lump sum once or twice a year. It will be much better for you to handle that. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. Most people don't do that. Most people think that things will take care of themselves, and they don't. Because they haven't defined what is the most important thing that I need to do. The same thing goes to work. When you have a job to do, you have an order to fill. You need to fill the important order first. However, are there orders that are not important? No. All orders are important. But there are orders that need to get rushed. So define what you need to do first thing in the morning. You need to do so. Actually, you need to do that the night before. You need to define what's important, and you need to make sure that the rest of the things don't get neglected when you do that. Sometimes you could do so by shifting the time, and sometimes you could make sure that somebody else will do that. Let's say, for example, I said to you, you know what, Yossi, I need to cut the hedges. I can't do it. Can you cut the hedges for me? It will get done. He's doing it. That's also dealing with it. I need to do this, and you take the car, and so on and so forth. But you need to make sure it's getting done. When you plan to success, let's say you have an event, right? The event needs to be well planned, and things need to get done. If you can't do it, assign other people to do it. But make sure those things get done as well. Again, we talked before about networking. Networking is very important. Networking is a very, very important aspect of success. Try always to increase the people you know, the people you come in contact with, and after you do so, you need to learn how you're going to utilize that networking to work for you. A lot of people have a LinkedIn account. Most people think LinkedIn is like, I'm not promoting anybody. I just say it's like Facebook. I know this one. No, you need to understand that you could actually get people like that if you know how to utilize it better. Whether it's acquaintance and so on and so forth, get introduction. You need to increase your opportunities. The more opportunities you have, the more chances you have to succeed. The more you narrow yourself by letting things fall and not taking care of things, the less successful you will be. Right? So, another one, you need to learn. You have to learn all the time. I told you, school is not something that you do and you finish, you graduated high school, you graduated college, that's it. A person needs to be a lifelong learner. And it's not necessarily just for, overall, in order to be a better person, you need to learn. You must learn. Especially if you already graduated out of college and you have a job and so on and so forth. Let's say somehow you ended up in business. I don't know, you're doing business. You have a store or you work for a company, you're doing business. However, you really, 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 really love history. So what's stopping you from taking a course in college? Take an unmatriculated thing. Take college. Go learn something. You don't have to go to college. Take a course, or take a book in a library. Learn something. You have to be an expert, at least in one field. Something that you have to be an expert in. And you need to know that your job is not a part of those expertise that you have to be an expert in. In other words, if you are a speech therapist, right, Yosef? If you're a speech therapist, that's very nice. Yes, you got to be the best speech therapist you could be. However, that's not what I was talking about. What I was talking about, you need to be an expert in something. Be an expert in bonsai. Okay, Sam, accountant. I don't know what you can be an expert in. But something. Be an expert in something. Take a topic. Take the Victorian era. Become an expert in Victorian era. Not that you're going to teach this in colleges, just for your self-enrichment. So that's you gotta continue learning. Research have showed us that most people regret most of the time that they did not learn enough. Don't give up and invest time and effort in order to continue learning something new always. Become an expert in Tai Chi. Become an expert in Xingyi. Become an expert, I don't care what you become an expert in, Bagua. Become an expert in growing potatoes in a bucket. Learn how to grow potatoes in a bucket, then you can learn how to grow chickens. You could be a CEO of, Metro Golden Mile, whatever it is you want to be in. But you are an expert on that. Things that are outside of your daily thing. And you have to learn new things. Learn how to draw, calligraphy, photography. Yes, that's the only fees you have to pay. You know what I'm saying. You want to learn psychology. But how about to learn psychology? Yes, the fact that you are a lawyer doesn't mean that you can't learn psychology as a hobby. You want to learn astrology. I knew a guy in Israel who was a professor in college, okay, dealing with sciences, math and all those accurate fields, with sciences. And his real passion was astrology. He was an astrologist. I gotta tell you, I don't know what it is. Very weird because he was pretty accurate for many things. But that was his hobby. And he would meet with people and he would do astrological maps for them and so on and so on. Very, very, that's what he liked to do. Is there anything wrong with that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He was also an expert in Lao Tzu writings. He wrote a thesis about it. It doesn't stop a person from doing all these things. Most successful people know how to utilize their time the best. And let's say, for example, what degree you taking?
I'm not in college.
You're not? Why not? Okay, that's what we need to talk about. Okay, let's say, for example, Yoshua. Okay, gets his PhD in biology. PhD in biology. So, what would most people do when they get a PhD in biology? Kick their feet up. That's it. Come on, we'll finish biology. They're going to work and so on. Why can't he get a master's in history? Not that he's going to do history, but why? Or a doctorate in history, or go to medical school, or go to become a lawyer, or why not? The fact that you have one degree, that's it. It's set. No, you have to be a lifetime learner. Do you know? For example, we're religious people. We don't do dancing, But if you're a secular person, what's the problem if you learn how to dance? Go learn the tango. Go learn the pasadoble. Go learn how to dance. It's good for your bones. You do exercise. Don't go learn yoga. You learn whatever. Don't do so as an activity. Like playing a racquetball. Do so because to reach a certain level of mastery. That's what you need to do. In the olden days, many cultures, Chinese culture, Japanese culture, a person of stature was considered to be, a samurai, for example, need to know 5 skills. One of them was calligraphy, flower arrangement for samurai, yes, flower arrangement, calligraphy, poetry. They need to learn. Chinese people, the same thing. They need to learn calligraphy, poetry, and tea ceremony. All this. It's a different mindset than we are today. Our schools are geared for degrees, not for knowledge, just degrees. It's a degree machine. So you need to continue learning all the time. And you learn a lot about yourself, and you're enriching yourself. And when you're going to have a conversation with somebody, it's another resource for you to be able to give to somebody else. For example, become an expert of the Japanese tea ceremony, and you can learn it, Japanese tea ceremony versus the Chinese tea ceremony. Most people don't even realize there's a Chinese tea ceremony, and there is. Become an expert in pottery. Become an expert in haiku. You all know what haiku is, right? Okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? Enrich yourself. Do you know how to read a topographic map? Do you know how to use a compass? Become an expert in navigation. Become a survival expert. You could be a Supreme Court judge. It doesn't mean that you cannot be something else, an expert in another field that you actually enjoy. That, by the way, very good for your life as well. It gives you a way to balance everything out. You don't get overwhelmed by it. Another thing to consider is to find a mentor. You have to find a mentor, right? And the reason is because it's very, very difficult to do that path alone. You need someone some figure or character that will help you, that you appreciate, that you trust, to be able to guide you through this path alone, in order to be able to examine, to critic your life, to critic your past, your pace, and to give you better advice to become more efficient in what it is that you do. And that's, I think, the most important thing. To find yourself a mentor. In today's society, mentorship is almost a non-existent concept. I think that's one of the reasons why we are so shallow, because when you commit yourself to a mentor, he'll be able to tell you things that you don't want to hear of your own personal fear, but it will be able to align you better on the path to success. You find it in few things today. For example, in Judaism, who is your Rebbe? Who do you ask questions? Who guides you? When you have a dilemma, what do you do? So that's one way to do so. Even though today, most people, the concept of a Rebbe, or who's your Rav, as they say, is not really it. I have a question, so I ask you, excuse me, I had my teaspoon fell into that. That's not what we're talking about, who's your Rav. Who's your Rav? Who guides you in the path of life? Who gives you philosophical advice? Who gives you moral advice? Who tells you what to do, things that you know that you should and you're not? Who's telling you, listen, you're doing something wrong. Most people don't have it. Even by the Hasidim don't have it. The Rebbe became some kind of like a agnostic, figure, something, a head figure. You need to have yourself a mentor. The closest thing to that is in true martial arts, not in the shop front martial arts. In true martial art, when you have a sensei, with your sensei, he teaches you a lot of things, not only karate. Like it was in Judaism, Lahavdil, many years ago, when there was a mentorship, when a Talmid, a student, would learn everything from his Rav, and they would talk and learn about everything, all aspects of life. Today, it's not because there's something wrong with the rabbis, there's something wrong with us, because we don't want to listen, we don't want anybody to tell us what to do. That's why, Rabotai, we don't succeed. Have a great day.